Hi there. So I just wanted to make a video today on some of the spiritual techniques. Now, I'm the kind of person on my journey where when I went for things, I really went for them. I wanted to, fully kind of dive deep and explore them properly and put them into kind of full on implementation. So I've tried many things out there, and I feel like a lot of the spiritual practices, they fall into three main categories, and they fall into sort of the presence and guidance category. So teaching you to be able to be mindful, to get rid of like the noise in your mind, to be able to channel, to be able to connect to your higher self, to be able to hear the guidance, to be able to find your inner compass and do so from a place of stillness. And then we've got the reprogramming kind of modalities where you're taught to reprogram your subconscious so that you can create different realities to the one you're currently experiencing, be that with constant affirmation, visualizing, subliminals. There's other modalities, but I think you get the picture. So you're basically reprogramming your subconscious mind and sort of rewiring your limiting beliefs so that you have better beliefs that you can go out into the world and you sort of create your reality. That's the everyone is you pushed out kind of theory. And then you've also got a lot of modalities that fit into shadow work and trigger work. So with those, it's like that when you get triggered, one of the popular and the techniques that I mostly used in that area was, well, two actually. One was to kind of look at the trigger and go back to childhood, to where I first experienced it, and kind of, you either go in and give that area love or just acknowledging where it came from, helps to kind of understand the pattern more. And then you've got the sort of mirror work where if you are triggered by somebody, then you go back and you really look at the core element of why you were triggered, like, oh, I felt disrespected. And then you change the pronoun. So I disrespect myself, and you kind of really take responsibility and you acknowledge how you created that scenario. And, you acknowledge that it was your creation. And I think all three of them, the key thing to grow spiritually, in my opinion, is to be less of a victim and to feel more empowered that you're steering your life, or you're connected to your highest self, and your life is unfolding in that kind of magical way. That's what we want to experience, right? That we experience life as magic, blissful, and high vibrational, and we experience love and all the joy and things we want to experience. Now, I have tried every single one of these like techniques and a number of modalities within those three areas I just mentioned. And what I found was when I did too much of any of them, they kind of don't really complement. But part of the problem is they don't really complement one another. Yet to me, they're all really important on the spiritual journey. So for example, if you're doing reprogramming and everyone is you pushed out kind of stuff, or you're affirming, or you're visualizing, or you're playing your subliminals, that's kind of in direct opposition to being and listening to your guidance, because you can't really hear your guidance if you're constantly affirming for things that you want. Then how can you listen? You're not in listening mode at all. You're always in like asking mode, and you're never in listening mode, which is really, in my opinion, really important. And what I found personally was when I was constantly affirming that I lost a lot of the magic and the joy in life, even if I was getting the things that I wanted. And I think a big thing that people think is that they want things. And yes, I mean, there are some things that we want, like generally to be abundant and to experience love are kind of general ties that most of society, you know, want, and they do make our life happier when we're abundant and we don't have to worry and stress about money, and we can do the things that we love doing and get paid for them. And when we're in a relationship, be it friendships and romantic, that are really fulfilling and amazing, then of course that makes our life better as well. But it's not actually like the people. And I think I found anyways that on the manifesting train, it's very easy to kind of get lost on things and specifics, like specific people and specific things, and they're not really going to make us happy, maybe momentarily, but it's actually the feelings that we want. We want to feel in love, we want to feel joy, we want to feel abundant generally. We don't probably want a specific amount of money or a specific person. And I was very lost on specifics at the beginning, and it comes from like a real attachment. No, I want that thing, you know, I want that thing, and then it's irrelevant whether really it's the thing that's meant for me or the thing that's really going to bring me the most joy. I just want it because because I want it, and I'm going to search for every technique out there and ignore anyone that says don't focus on specifics. So I get it, and I think, you know, it's something that, you know, we're all going to go through. And then maybe you'll also get to the point like I did where you realize it's not really about the specifics, and when you have non-attachment, you're more open to whatever miraculous thing, you know, there might be a love out there that you couldn't ever dream or imagine. And if you're so focused on this specific person, you're never gonna, you know, experience that. And I think the same with purpose in life, you know, like, yes, we can manifest our dream role in our dream company, but there might still always be something missing if it's not, you know, that role that you really are guided towards. And for me personally, I find that when I'm guided, I'm just like happier, I'm more joyful. The things might be a surprise, but they're generally more fulfilling. And when I'm like chasing things that I'm really attached to, I'm making them happen. Yes, I've made those things happen, but they generally, overall, I'm less fulfilled and in that natural high frequency state when I'm doing that. And this is where, you know, I realized that it's about finding the balance between these three modalities, because I personally believe they're all important. And I know people that say in the Everyone Is You Pushed Out community, they say, oh, you know, if you do mirror work or trigger work, then you're basically just cycling around your wounds. And I think to a point that can be true if you do it too much. And that's really my point, is that for me personally, when I do any of these things too much and they take up too much of my focus, the other things go, and then I feel like I generally drop out of my spiritual journey, and I'm not on path in the same way. You know, I think, yes, if all you want is things, then manifesting works, and then yeah, I think you probably don't need to do the other things. But I think if you actually want to spiritually grow and integrate and you know, find that inner joy, I really honestly believe all these things are important. For me, when I wasn't really being mindful and I didn't have, I went from having a crazy strong spiritual practice of meditating or doing yoga nearly every day, doing heart-centered activities, a lot of workshops, groups, courses, to kind of doing nothing for a period. And I did really notice that my energy dropped, because I guess I just wasn't taking that time to really tune into my heart and be around other heart-centered people, and to be, you know, mindful and spend that time really trying to just be present. But then I found when I was really present, only that life was really magical, but I had all these, you know, and I would feel really on my path. But then there was all these, sorry, that's my cat, and my iPad simultaneously. Shush, Lila. I feel like even though I had all these magical synchronistic moments, I still had so many limiting beliefs in play that I was very much like this in that period where I was being mindful. And maybe if I'd have continued with that path, you know, I don't know where it would go. But I personally found that the mindfulness sort of took me like this, up and down, and I'd have all these crazy magical moments, synchronicities, and then I'd have this like massive fall because I just keep repeating the same cycles. Because sorry, I seem to put that on silent. Somebody keeps messaging me and I don't know how to put my iPad on silent, so I hope they stop. And I've totally lost where I am now. I have to try and reconnect it. But I know that, yeah, I was getting synchronistic moments, but I was crashing because I had so many limiting beliefs in play, and I feel like just being present didn't really fix those limiting beliefs, and it didn't really rewire anything. And I had a really poor mental diet, so I would spend loads and loads of time in meditation and yoga, and I would get really, really high, but then I'd come out and I'd go and talk to my friends, and then I'd be like, oh, this guy's blocked me, this guy's not talking to me, this guy doesn't care about me, I'm not good enough, you know. So I wasn't really rewiring anything. I was just in a high state, but then had all these limiting beliefs. So I was still like not attracting the things that I wanted. And then when I was doing a lot of shadow work, I think when I was so focused on that, and that's all I was doing, was, you know, I was kind of keeping these patterns very alive. And yes, I wasn't getting triggered so much anymore, and I was working through those triggers and the attachment, but, you know, I still wasn't creating those things. And for me, I've really found that it's not really about doing any one thing exclusively, but finding a way to do all these three areas in some form of balance, you know. And I haven't quite found a way to structure that yet, but that is something that I'm currently working on. But to make sure that there's a practice between my iPad and my cat. And I don't want to start the video from scratch. Please be quiet. I don't know if you can hear that, but she's so loud. But yeah, so I really believe it's important to split your energy between reprogramming activities and manifesting activities, between shadow work and trigger work. Else I think it's quite easy to bypass all that stuff and not even like, because what I've noticed a lot of people do that do Everyone Is You Pushed Out exclusively, or do sort of manifesting exclusively, is that you only really focus on the things that you want. So if people kind of trigger you a bit, but they're not really in the way of what you want, that in a way it's good because there's less attachment, right? But people just tend to bypass those things. So I feel you're not really growing and evolving spiritually. You're just like, oh, I want that thing, so I'm just going to keep affirming it until I have that thing. And yes, the triggers kind of go away, but I'm not sure that it's a really wholesome sort of like integrated growth that they go away, but more just, oh, I'm going to get what I want anyways, you know. So for me, I think they're both really important, as well as being present. When I'm not like present, I'm not actively spending time tuning into my heart or doing meditative or spiritual yoga type practices, I just feel like I lose a lot of that magic in life and that synchronistic, amazing energy that I had at the beginning of my journey. So yeah, I just wanted to make this video as a little bit of something that I've kind of been at in my journey at the moment, and where I'm at is, yeah, really trying to balance these three areas that at some point I've been really obsessed with and haven't singly brought me to the place that I really wanted to be. And I really believe now it's about finding a way to connect those things, like understanding I create my reality, but also being able to listen and tune into like my higher self and my guidance, and to be able to have the non-attachment to maybe let things go that, you know, are not in my highest good, rather than like force them through the mold through manifesting. You know, I really believe some things we're meant to manifest and some things we're really meant to like let go. And how do you know that? Well, you kind of have to listen to your own intuition. And if you're constantly just forcing things, you don't really get to go into that. You don't really get to go inside and listen. So yeah, sorry this was a bit rambly. I need to get better at making shorter videos, and sorry for all the noise distractions, but I hope everyone's good, and yeah, I'll check in soon.